Yeah, you need to be.
Good.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the City Commission meeting of September 27th, 2022. I call this meeting to order. Val, please call the roll.
Commissioner Penny?
Here.
Commissioner Curry?
Here.
Commissioner Danio?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Mayor Villa?
Here. I want to welcome you all here today and remind you to silence, if you have a cell phone, please silence any electronic devices that you may have that may make noise and interrupt the meeting. At this time, I'll ask you all to please stand for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance afterwards. Would you pray with me? Most loving and gracious God, we come to you today in prayer. We thank you for blessing our community, for always blessing our community. Dear God, we ask that you wrap a protective blanket of white light around our city and our citizens, our first responders, and our city as a whole to keep us safe throughout this hurricane. Dear God, you know our wants and our needs and our fears, and we thank you for lifting us up and protecting us. We humbly ask that you give us wisdom and guidance to all of our leaders and officials. We know you will be with us, and for this we praise you. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much. The first thing on our agenda tonight is our public hearings. This is the final budget and final millage rate, second hearings. The first one is Resolution 2022-R-74. Mr. Simpson?
Resolution number 2022-R-74 for second reading, and I'm going to have to read it in its entirety. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Volusia County, Florida, adopting the final levying of ad valorem taxes for the City of Holly Hill for the fiscal year 2022-2023, providing for severability and providing for an effective date. Whereas the City of Holly Hill, Volusia County, Florida, on September 12, 2022, adopted a fiscal year 2022-2023 tentative millage rate following a public hearing as required by Florida statutes 200.065. And whereas the City of Holly Hill, Volusia County, Florida, on September 27, 2022, adopted a fiscal year 2022-2023 final millage rate following public hearing as required by Florida statutes 200.065. Whereas the City of Holly Hill, Volusia County, Florida, held a public hearing as required by Florida statutes 200.065. And whereas the gross taxable value for operating purposes not exempt from taxation, Volusia County, has been certified by the county property appraiser to the City of Holly Hill as $819,576,175. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, Section 1. The fiscal year 2022-2023 final operating millage is 6.25 mils, which is greater than the rollback rate of 5.6850 mils by 9.94%. Section 2. The final public hearing was held on September 27th. 2022 at 6 p.m. Section 3, severability. If any section or portion of a section of this resolution proves to be invalid, unlawful, or unconstitutional, it shall not be held to invalidate or impair the validity, force, or effect of any other section or part of this resolution. Section 4, effective date. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon its adoption.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simpson. Susan, do you have anything to add to this? Okay. So with that, are there any questions from the commission? All right. With that, we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak about the millage rate tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation, and I will open the floor for a motion. Please include the millage rate in your motion.
Mayor,
Yes?
before you do that, I want to have Susan come up and clarify
Oh, that's
an
right.
advertising. That was the budget. Never mind, we'll do it at the budget time.
It was for the budget. That was, okay, all right.
It announces-
So with that, the floor is open for a motion.
Make a motion
It doesn't matter, that's.
to approve the
Okay.
millage rate of 6.25.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Opposed? The motion carries 4-1. Now moving to number 2, Resolution 2022-R-75. Mr. Simpson.
Resolution number 2022-R-75 by title only for second and final reading. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Volusia County, Florida, adopting the final budget for the City of Holly Hill for the fiscal year 2022-2023, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simpson. Hello, Mrs. Lincoln. Can you please address what happened with the budget and the advertising, please?
Two items. One to Susan Lincoln, Finance Director for the City of Holly Hill. I want to address two items. When the budget was advertised in the paper, there was an alignment issue. I contacted the newspaper, and they issued me a statement that they were in error. I also sent that to the Florida Department of Revenue, and to get their consensus if we had to reschedule our meeting. I actually got two confirmations from the Department of Revenue that due to the misalignment, that the funds were not out of balance, that we could continue with our meeting tonight, and that it could be passed as it. So I just want to also make another mention of the budget. The budget differs from the preliminary budget from the 12th by approximately $16,000, and it was a transfer from the Law Enforcement Trust Fund of $15,900 for the license plate readers that was inadvertently left off. So we had the expense booked into the budget, but we didn't have the transfer from the other fund. So that's primarily the difference between the preliminary budget that you saw on the 12th and the budget that you see tonight.
Great. Thank you, Susan. Are there any questions for Susan? All right. Thank you very much. At this time, we will open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak about the budget tonight? What's that? About the overall budget? Do you have a comment? Or later on, it's public comment about anything not okay. Seeing none, I'll close public participation, and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
We have a motion to approve Commissioner Curry, a second from Commissioner Danio. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the motion carries unanimously. Now we're moving to our public comments. This is the section in which, sir, I know you wanted to speak about. So this is our public comments. You can speak about anything not on our regular agenda tonight. You will have 5 minutes, and you can address the commission. Would you like to come up, sir? Yep. And what I'll ask you to do right before you start is say your name and your address. It's for the record. Our clerk has to put it into our system.
Okay, my name is Kedrick Alvin. I'm a Republican. My address is 1141 Cave Ave, Daytona Beach, Florida. Today I was today I was looking like for a structure that I made. It has different aspects of building the community and keeping it safe and growing the economy at the same time at once. I got a program for.
Can you step away from the mic just a little bit? There you go. That's good.
I built a system for a program for young adults and law enforcement for stopping violence and crime, which includes getting the young adults self-defense and be educated at the same time, and at the same time growing their mental and their physical aspect as being grown adults. But at the same time, if we're able to fund a program and we'll be the first one to do this, that means is we're going to get paid for this program from other states, such as the ones that didn't start the program. If we start this program, we're going to be the first one here to start it, and I guarantee you that the program will attract other states to pay us to come in, and that will grow our economy for Florida, and also we can bring it out towards them. But then on top of that, it's levels to everything that you do, details on how to grow the economy. Well, it's other things that you can have evolved during that, and that's why I want to start off by with Fray's Barbecue right there. You know, Ridgewood, well, basically Daytona is still up and coming in products, and everything is slow because the other bigger cities like Jacksonville, Miami, Orlando, all that stuff is already created, and everything comes to them before us because we are an early town. We don't really have stuff that comes through. But if we create some attractions to the city, however, that's going to bring attention to us, and it's going to grow our economy, so we can easily outbeat them because we're fresh. Everybody been through Miami, everybody been through Orlando, but they really haven't seen Daytona yet. We already have the beach as an attraction. So if we got more than one attraction, that can bring more money and more growth. And to me, Ridgewood is one of the best attractions because Ridgewood stay busy. So if you can build certain attractions on Ridgewood, going all the way down through Ormond and all the way down that way, all the way down to New Smyrna, that can bring a new attraction. So this could be like a main street coming all the way down with new stuff on it. And I was thinking about like where the pickle bowl at. I was thinking about the barbecue phrase because it's next to the beach side, you know, where the bridge at, just a little far down. But it's right there by the pickle bowl. And I was thinking about making a festival for cars for different celebrities to come out here and pay the society, the regular people to come and pay the watch the celebrities, you know, the role models, and have them come out here and get used to and get plugged in and get more familiarized with the community, and that's going to bring attraction here. You know, it's different programs that they can bring and fund towards Daytona. But as me as a person, I did a lot of things. I'm a promoter. I'm a former promoter. My dad's a promoter in Miami. So we got different type of attractions down there that he owns. So we have different celebrities like Chris Brown, you know, Michael Jai White, you know, a lot of football players because I was supposed to go to the NFL. So it's a lot of NFL players that's invested in me. But they're waiting for me to come through on my end. So if we can get them to come in here and get an event for all of them to come together, it's a lot of people from out of town who's going to chip in. And then it's in Daytona. This is the first annual festival, the car festival that I was thinking about. If you guys can find some way where we can get together and we can build this structure for that, we can make money. We can make over like $500K off one event. And it can keep going, and we can invest that into schools, like a school on Ridgewood, you know, different like daycare. You can make a daycare part 1, a daycare part 2, that's going to generate money. You can make a system, like it's different stuff, it's level 2. I got so much stuff that I have going on, but you know, it's 5 minutes, so I can't really say too much. But moral of the story, I got a game plan down. If you guys are interested, we can make something happen, because I know a lot of people that can build this city up, you know, just off just events. Just one small event can bring attraction, and we can attract more. It's just like, that's like I say, it's levels to everything. You feel what I'm saying?
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak during public comments? All right, seeing none, I'll close public comments, and we will move to number 4, which is the approval of the minutes. We have the minutes from the September 12th, 2022 regular city commission meeting and first public hearings on the budget. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion. Second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes from Commissioner Johnson, a second from Vice Mayor Penny. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on the minutes tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation on that. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Now moving to our consent agenda, is there any commissioner that would like to remove any item on our consent agenda? All right, this will be for items 1 through 8. The action proposed is stated for each item on the consent agenda. Unless a city commissioner removes an item from the consent agenda, no discussion on individual items will occur, and a single motion will approve all items. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on any item on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. I'll entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion for approval from Vice Mayor Penny, a second from Commissioner Johnson. No discussion is needed. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the motion carries unanimously. Now we're moving to our regular agenda, but I believe we're going to pull this one. Is that correct?
Yeah, Mayor, I'd like to pull this item for further discussion with the folks over at Pictone and bring it back at a future meeting.
Yes, sir. With no objection, we're going to pull this item. Seeing no objection, we will bring that item up at our next meeting. Now moving to number 7, which is our public hearings. Please silence any cell phone or pager or noise-making device as to not interrupt the meeting. Staff will introduce each item for consideration with comments and recommendations. The applicant or appellant and supporters will be heard first. Those in opposition to the request will be heard next. That's not true. I'm going to just open up the floor on that. So with that, I am going to go to ordinance. The first ordinance we have is 2022-0-3057 for second reading. Mr. Simpson.
Ordinance number 2022-0-3057 by title only for second and final reading. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, regulating planned unit developments, amending Chapter 114 titled Zoning, Section 114-771 titled Planned Unit Development Regulations of the Land Development Regulations to add definitions and reduce the percentage of required open space for an RPUD, providing for codification, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. All right, Mr. Walker,
Yes,
floor is
Mayor.
yours.
Commissioners, thank you. Basically, this ordinance was first heard on the 12th of September. Nothing has changed. In effect, it reduces the total open space for a residential plan unit development or the residential portion of a mixed-use plan development from 60% of the site to 40% of the site. There have been no changes since first reading. Staff continues to recommend approval.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walker. Are there any questions for staff? I had a question. When going through it, in the proposed regulation on E, in there, section 114.771, E, the open space requirements, it talks about retention ponds will be counted if they are amenitized with a fountain or a walking trail. My question is, what happens if a developer comes to us and they say that they will amenitize this pond and put a fountain in, and let's say it breaks after the first couple months and they just never put it back? Do we have a way to make them put that back in if this is one of the criteria for this open space requirement?
We would,
be counted?
because keep in mind, this is for residential plan unit developments or the residential portion of a mixed-use plan development. So as a plan development, it would be part of the zoning. So when you approve the plan development, you're approving it with everything that it shows on the preliminary development plan, and those fountains would be part of that preliminary development plan. If they were to say, now we don't want to do that, and they want to get rid of it, then it would be a judgment call as to whether or not it would be a minor amendment or a major amendment.
Would it be considered a code violation?
That's what I was wondering, Brian.
It would be considered a code violation to the extent that it is now not meeting the zoning.
In that, what the mayor's saying is they build it according to what was submitted, and 2 years later, the fountain breaks and they decide, we're just not going to fix it.
Right.
So now, 2 years later, we have something that's in violation of the zoning.
Right.
That we
I just didn't know what authority we have at that point.
Yes, we
If
could,
it's- Good.
sorry, Attorney.
Good. Oh, I was going to say, if it's a retention pond that's been dedicated to the city, then, we would,
private.
well, I'm just saying, but if it's dedicated to the city, then we may be responsible for fixing it once it's dedicated, like any other improvements are, but we get, the warranties that come with it. If it's privately maintained, we would have an HOA there, and some type of either a homeowners association or some type of condominium association, and that would be an obligation to maintain that improvement. So it would be, as the city manager said, it would be through code enforcement or zoning code violations, code enforcement to make them put that back in.
So we do have a lever to pull
Yeah.
at that point.
It'd be similar to, they had trees that were required in a buffer or landscaping strip, and those trees died. Maybe we have a hurricane and they're ripped out. They would be responsible for restoring them because that is how the property was owned.
Otherwise, they're in violation, not of the code, though,
They would
But
be
in
in violation of the
violation
zoning,
of the zoning
the
law.
zoning that was approved.
Yeah, you have to view the, a PUD as a zoning code just for that piece of property.
Right.
So that's,
Right.
it's still the
Right.
land development, it's like land development regulations that we approve or come through in the agreement, development agreement, just for that piece of property, but it still has the same effect as the land development regulations that we have in our code of ordinances.
So instead of
Right.
citing a code out of the Code of Ordinances, they would cite the PUD agreement as the document being violated.
Okay. Yeah, I think that answers my question, because my fear would be is if you're developing and you say it's amenitized by buying a pump and putting it in and knowing full well you're not going to keep it very long just to get that in there. That would be my fear with that, but it sounds like we have a lever to pull, so that will be protected. So are there any further questions? All right. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Now, at this time, we will open this up to public participation. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation, and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion for approval from Vice Mayor Penny, and a second from Commissioner Curry. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Now we're moving to number 2, which is ordinance 2022-0-3055 for second reading, and you're going to read both of them, right?
Yes, sir.
And second reading of ordinance 3056. Mr. Simpson.
Yes, this is a situation where we have a comprehensive plan amendment, one project. The first ordinance will be the comprehensive plan amendment. The second ordinance is the zoning change. The first ordinance, as we've discussed many times, that's a policy decision. You all have substantial discretion over establishing policy decisions regarding a legislative action, which is the first ordinance. The second ordinance is a quasi-judicial hearing, which means initially the applicant must establish substantial competent evidence that they comply with our regulations, and then the burden shifts, once that burden is met, the burden shifts to opposition to present substantial competent evidence why the request should not be granted. You don't have that burden on the policy issue. The policy issue is legislative action. That is only reviewed to the extent that you abuse your discretion. And you have substantial discretion in establishing policy. That's how our government is established. The judicial branch will not step on the toes of the legislative branch. Because we do have quasi-judicial here, you need to, after I read it, you need to disclose ex parte communications that have occurred, and that would just be the substance of any conversations you've had outside of this meeting other than with city staff. So I'll go ahead and read both titles right now. Ordinance 2022-0-3055 by title only for second and final reading. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending the comprehensive plan by amending the future land use designation of certain property identified as 649 6th Street, having parcel number 4244-01-20-0037, and 661 6th Street, having parcel number 4244-01-20-0048, and 659 6th Street, having parcel number 4244-01-20-0045, and 538 Cedar Avenue, having parcel number 4244-01-20-0046, by virtue of a small-scale future land use map amendment, changing the future land use map designation from low-density single-family residential to medium-density residential, providing for conflicting ordinance, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. And then the title for the second ordinance, reading this by title only for second and final readings. This is ordinance number 2022-0-3056. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending the land development regulations by amending the official zoning map to designate the property described in Exhibit A from APUD, Agricultural Plan Unit Development, to R2, Low Medium Density Single Family Residential, to RPUD, Residential Plan Unit Development, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Although you're going to hear the presentation related to both ordinances, you should vote on each one separately. You'll vote on the 3055 first, then you'll vote on 3056 second.
Great, thank you, Mr. Simpson. And before I hand it over to you, Mr. Walker, is there any ex parte communication that needs to be disclosed? All right.
I
sorry.
had previous,
Right into the mic.
sorry, I had previous during our last meeting and hearing on this with the resident, Scott Fitzwater. I have not had any new communication since our last meeting.
Same here. Okay. Any more? All right. With that, Mr. Walker, the floor is yours.
Yes, Commissioners, this item was also heard 2 weeks ago, and staff has no changes. Basically, Ordinance 3055 will change the future land use from low-density residential to medium-density residential for a proposed 134-unit townhome development on 6th Street, which we're all familiar with the area. The medium-density residential allows 7 to 19 dwelling units per net acre. The applicant is proposing 13.21 dwellings per net buildable acre. So that is what is happening with that particular ordinance, and again, staff has no changes. The ordinance that follows that, 3056, is for a rezone for that very same property to allow a residential plan unit development in order to allow the townhome development. The applicant has basically proposed enhanced buffers, 10 feet on all sides except for the buffer along 6th Street, which in the preliminary development plan is listed as being 20 feet. So that provides the enhanced buffers. Typically, when a plan unit development is being done, it is a give and take, and so that is what the developer has offered the city. Other than that, staff does not have any changes and continues to recommend this project.
Great. Thank you very much, Brian. Any questions for staff? All right. Would the applicant like to come up and speak? Yes, sir. The floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. My name's Harry Newkirk, Newkirk Engineering, 1230 North US Highway 1, Ormond Beach. I'd like to thank Brian Walker for everything on the project. Very helpful. Joe, you set up a meeting, you meet with Brian Walker and Joe Forte to go over it, and then you go from there, back and forth, revisions to get where we are tonight. As far as the zoning, we've showed that there's adequate capacity of your utilities, the infrastructure, the streets, stormwater systems of 4 times the volume, net improvement for the site and surrounding properties. There's no wetlands on site. There's no threatened endangered animals. It's a perfect site for the development. It's a transition, as Brian stated numerous times, since it's next to the News Journal. And you go into high commercial to a medium density townhome development into your outliers of the residential. So it's a great addition to the city. It's going to increase tax base in the area, and it's going to be one of the first beauties in this location, and which is good because it keeps the quality of the landscaping. It's always going to have irrigation system. The fountains you talked about are always going to work because they're amenity that the residents are expecting to have. So you have a high class development. When you drive by it, landscaping will always look good. There's a reason why that's happening, because it has to be maintained. So I think this will be a great add, and I look forward to it moving forward. We're in full permitting with the city on the site also, with plat. We submitted St. John's. St. John's came back with really no comments with respect to the stormwater system. Just got to provide them some more money and a couple extra calculations they wanted. So we're going the right direction on it with permitting, and we look forward to bringing this community to the city. So if you all have any questions,
Great.
love to answer them for you.
Any questions? Yes, Vice Mayor.
I just noticed there's 3 ponds, and the one was going to be a dry, but now it's a wet pond. You don't have to have any dry retention to dump into the wet retention?
So this site, that's a great question. So this site, you base stormwater on land uses. That's how it works. So the site was formerly a vineyard/ag product, land use, and that generates is the worst situation for stormwater. Has a lot of nitrogen, phosphorus because of the fertilizers are on site. So when you development of that site, when you redevelopment and come in with just regular wet detention ponds, that's an improvement for the discharge of the nutrients off the property.
Thanks.
Is that all?
Is it?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Any other questions? All right.
I pretty much asked all of them at the
All right.
last meeting. so-
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you all so
Newkirk.
much.
Yep. At this time, we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak tonight on this item? Seeing none, I'll close public participation, and I'll open the floor for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion for approval from Vice Mayor Penny, a second from Commissioner Curry. Discussion needed. My stance, I just want to say, stays the same, believing that this is too dense. And let me clarify, too, that this, Vice Mayor, this is for the ordinance 3055, correct? And so my vote will be the same tonight. With that, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. The motion carries 4-1. Now, moving to the second reading of ordinance 3056. Can we have a motion on the floor for ordinance 3056?
Motion.
Second.
Motion for approval from Commissioner Johnson, a second from Commissioner Danio. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the motion carries unanimously. Now moving to number 3 on our agenda, which is 1034 Ridgewood Avenue, a special exception. Mr. Forte.
And I will also add, this is also a quasi judicial hearing.
Okay.
So same burden of proof the applicant has to submit. Also, any ex parte communication disclosure is applicable to this situation.
Great, thank you. Is there any ex parte communication on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Walker, the floor is yours.
Yes, Mayor, Commissioners. The applicant is seeking a special exception to allow a tattoo parlor on a parcel that's located on a project known or a parcel known as 1034 Ridgewood Avenue. This property is approximately .74 acres in size, and it contains a small strip mall type development. It's zoned CC1, which is Commercial Corridor District, and that is located within our redevelopment overlay. In addition to a tattoo parlor, they would like to have piercing services, retail sales of tattoo and skateboard-related merchandise, soft drinks, and coffee. However, a tattoo parlor that is in the redevelopment overlay is permitted only as a special exception, and it is subject to the provisions of Section 114-696 of the Land Development Regulations of Holly Hill. The proposed hours for the operation will be from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., Tuesday through Sunday. There will be 5 working stations that will be occupied by up to 10 people. So there will be the artist and their client at each station. And there'll also be a reception area that can host up to 10 clients at a time. Now, in order to approve a tattoo parlor at this location, the City Commission must find that the site and conditions meet the requirements of Section 114-696, and these requirements and the applicant's responses and narrative to these requirements are provided in Exhibit A. There's also Section 82-346 of the Land Development Regulations, and these provide guidance with regard to the reasons why a special exception can be denied. The reasons for denial and comments from the applicant are also provided in Exhibit B. Now, staff has reviewed the requirements, the reasons for denial, as well as the applicant's responses, and staff does not object to the application for a special exception for a tattoo parlor at this site. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the special exception as requested for a tattoo parlor on a parcel in the CC1 zoning district within the redevelopment overlay, located on the west side of Ridgewood Avenue, approximately 400 feet north of 10th Street, and more specifically known as 1034 Ridgewood Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Are there any questions for Mr. Walker? Yes, Vice Mayor.
I saw in the report that the strip mall is approximately 32,368 square feet. How big would this tattoo parlor be? Is it the whole strip mall, or is it just the front part? Or?
No, actually, I'm not sure which unit he is intending to rent. I don't know if the gentleman in the front is leaving or if there's another unit in back. There's a few units at that location, so I don't know which
I just didn't know
specifically.
if I thought, it looked like they were taking over the whole place. No? Just the front? Okay, thank you.
It is just the front. Okay.
Thanks.
I have a question, Mr. Walker. How long ago did we change our ordinances to allow for this as a special exception?
It was
2 years ago, maybe?
About 4 years ago.
4 years?
Has it been that long?
I've been here 5, and it was about a year or so after I got
Okay.
here.
So, in that time, how many times have you been approached about a tattoo parlor that
This
you
is the first
recall?
one.
The first one? Interesting. Okay. I was just curious. Thank you. Any further questions for staff? Thank you, Mr. Walker. All right, and I'm assuming you are the applicant. If the applicant would like to come up and speak, you can. I just ask you both to introduce yourself for the record, and then you can speak.
Good evening, everyone. Commissioners, Mayor, thank you very much for having us. I'm Adam Rowe. I'm the attorney for the Salty Parrot, Inc. This is my client and good old childhood friend, Mark Parrish, who is the artist and the actual owner of the business. Mr. Parrish and I actually started this business together in St. Augustine about 7 years ago. We built it up over the years. We have gone from a very, very tiny two-man operation to employing about 5-6 people. We've built a very large clientele. We think we've maintained the highest artistic and community standards in St. Augustine. And we'd really love to get permission to bring our operation and to bring our clients down here to Holly Hill and open up our business here. So I hope the council will, approve that. And I'd love to answer any questions anybody might have.
Good job. Yeah, Vice Mayor?
Is this a second location, or are you relocating from St. Augustine?
We are relocating, so we will be closing the St. Augustine location and moving here to Holly Hill. If approved.
Just introduce yourself for the record.
My name is Mark Parrish. I've been a 2-year resident of Ormond, and my family and I love it here. So we had been talking about it for the past year or so, about attempting to put something here in this area. And and I saw the space, and it was wonderful for us, and the traffic is fantastic. And like I said, I want to grow the business here and raise my family here and what. So
Because you love Holly Hill, right?
well, we love it.
Just helping out a little bit.
This whole area.
We love Holly Hill.
There we go. There's the lawyer.
Right
All
answer.
right.
Right answer.
What's the Salty Parrot logo?
Right now, it's just words, and we have a parrot, classic. Like to say.
I thought you'd have it tattooed on yourself somewhere.
No, I do have I have a parrot on me, but it's just a real comical sort of sailor parrot with a captain's hat, like smoking a pipe.
You got to get it on you.
I do actually.
We want to see the lawyer's tattoos. I'm joking. All right. Are there any further questions?
No.
All right. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. At this time, we'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Curry and a second from Commissioner Danio. Any discussion needed?
Thank you for thinking about Holly Hill.
Ditto. Anybody else? All right. With that, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Welcome to Holly Hill. All right, so now we'll move down to our communications. We do have tonight, I think in front of all of you, we have here a resolution for local state of emergency. Mr. Forte, if you'd like to explain that, how we are under the state of emergency of the county, but we will set this tonight.
Yeah, right now, Volusia County has adopted a local state of emergency for all of Volusia County, and that helps us with things like reimbursements through FEMA. We have to be under a state of emergency when that happens. Well, first of all, we'll have to be declared a federal disaster area in order to be approved for FEMA reimbursements, but then we fall under the county's declaration of a state of emergency for that purpose. When we adopt a local state of emergency for the city of Holly Hill under our own emergency management plan, that allows me the ability to go outside of the purchasing policy if I need to. It allows me to modify work hours without having to go through union negotiations. I kind of have the ability to do that. I could change hours, I could reassign people, assign them different tasks. So it gives me the ability, and it's all in that, in the resolution of the number of different things that I can do that I typically can't do on a regular basis. So declaring the state of emergency allows me that flexibility during this. It's only active for 7 days. If there's a need to do this again, we would have to have another emergency meeting either Monday or Tuesday next week to extend this for another 7 days.
Great.
Let's hope not.
Thank you. Sorry, I just ate a piece of candy.
Yeah.
I went the wrong way.
Baby Ruth, buddy.
I didn't eat dinner.
If you want to take out, you want me to read the title real quickly into the
Yes,
record?
actually,
Okay.
please, thank you.
Resolution 2022-R-81, by title only for first and only reading, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, declaring a local state of emergency and providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Are there any questions? We'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the local state of emergency from Commissioner Curry and a second from Vice Mayor Penny. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Okay, with that in mind, I just want to give you a quick update as far as what's happening here within the city. We've taken steps necessary to prepare for the storm. City Hall has been secured with the hurricane shutters that have been placed on the windows. We still have our sandbag operations over at the rear of Public Works facility on 10th Street near the railroad tracks. We've got the retention ponds have been lowered where we can to try to make room for capacity. I fully expect that we will have a significant amount of flooding in the city, especially when we're looking at about 10 to 12 inches of rain over a 2-day period. There's just not enough time for that water to exit out of the city through our system, so I fully expect the typical areas to get the same flooding that we had the last time. We don't anticipate very much by the way of sea level rise or storm surge, so I'm not worried about that too much. This is taking a similar path that Charlie did. Charlie came through, it was a very small compact storm, and it came through quickly, and it was more of a wind event. This is a much larger, slow-moving storm, and it's not going to be much of a wind event. We'll probably still get down wires and down trees, but it's going to be more of a rain and a water event. That leaves us with concern for the flooding. It also leaves me with concern for the amount of water that'll get saturated into some of these water oaks, these oak trees that we have, and that can cause them to fall as well. So that's moving along as we typically would. We have not started our EOC operations downstairs in the police department yet. We'll make that determination sometime, probably by about noon tomorrow. Tomorrow, with this declaration, tomorrow we'll be closing City Hall to the public at noon. Employees will be released at 2 o'clock. It'll be closed on Thursday, and then Thursday we'll evaluate the conditions to make a decision as to whether or not we will open on Friday, and if so, at what time. So if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them for you.
My question I asked you earlier today, at what wind speed do our first responders are not allowed to go out?
They make that, the county makes that
35?
determination to shut down the
45.
bridges and at 45 miles an hour is typically what we pull our sustained winds, not gusts. So if we have sustained winds at 45 miles an hour, we pull our vehicles off the road, which means that we will not be responding to even emergencies. So when that action is taken, typically what happens, the dispatch will still notify us of a 911 call, and we usually respond back that we are not responding to calls at this time. We'll log them, and then when the winds die down, we'll follow back up on them. So there are situations, sadly to say, that somebody may be calling in with a heart attack that we cannot respond to, or a structure fire that we cannot respond to, because responding during those winds puts our staff, our equipment in jeopardy, and we don't want to do that either.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? All right. Just want to thank you and your staff and all of our employees who are going to be putting in time, all of our first responders. We have 2 chiefs in the room. Please let your guys know that we appreciate them for what they're doing for our community. Praying for the absolute best here. And as we said earlier, prepare for the worst and pray for the best. So thank you, Mr. Forte. And I know you'll keep us up to date with any
I will. As I get
developments.
information, I'll try to keep you informed as best as we can.
All right. Do you have anything further for us?
Yeah, 2 other things. One is the the Volusia League of Cities that we typically host every couple of years has been assigned to us for December 2023. They've given us a date. They've given us a couple of dates, but some of them conflicted with other things. So right now, we're looking at Thursday, December 7th, which is a full week after Thanksgiving. They had given us the week before Thanksgiving, which wasn't going to work. So if everybody is okay with December 7th, 2023, we'll go ahead and get that locked in, and then we just have to make a determination on a location.
Yeah.
So we can make that at a later date.
It's my birthday.
Could be a good
Everybody
day.
good?
D-Day? Isn't that D-Day?
Yep, it is. Not D-Day, no, it's D-Day Pearl Harbor was bombed. Yep. So, yeah.
No objection to
There's
that?
no objections, I see.
And then lastly, Mr. Simpson is going to be reinitiating or restarting his annual holiday get-together, and he has requested a Saturday in December. 2 Saturdays were available, the 3rd and the 10th. On the 3rd, that's actually the Christmas parade.
That's my
And
birthday, by the way.
That would be, well, we could really go to town now. We could do that.
I have a party
So-
for mine, a parade for yours.
So on the 3rd, it's
not-
usually a busy day. The staff is very active. It may not be a good day, so I'm recommending that if Scott's going to go ahead and do that, we do it on Saturday, December 10th, and that'll actually take place at Sika Hall. Keeping in mind, Sika Hall allows for,
Well, that's Gutakis' birthday.
Just check them all out. Yeah.
Sika Hall does allow for beer and wine, but not typically for hard liquor, so that's probably what you would be seeing over there that day. So if everybody's good with
Makes the
December.
party cheaper.
You probably
I was
appreciate
thinking to mix
that.
the food a
Yeah, but
little.
now you gotta have a birthday cake or something.
Gotta make your truck popular.
No objections
No
to December
objections. Are there
December
any
10th?
objections?
Is there any bad day to eat?
No objections, Joe.
That is all that I have.
All right, thank you very much. So, to the commission, wanted to let you know, Mr. Forte and I know the vice mayor a few weeks ago visited Marina Grande. We were asked by the social committee, I know you went a couple weeks ago, John. Mr. Forte and I went today and talked a little bit about the impending hurricane, talked a lot about the flooding down there in front of Marina Grande, and Mr. Forte went over that pretty well with them, and I appreciated his bluntness, just diving right into the issue, and it went really well, though. There was a lot of positivity there, a lot of good comments.
Really?
So I just wanted to share that with you. And one other conversation that I had at a gala last week, the mayor of Daytona Beach came up to me, who, as you know, is also a principal, a vice principal at Holly Hill School, and came to me out of the blue and said, "Are you guys thinking at all about what you're going to do with the school?" I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "We're overflowing." I said, "Well, we just actually had this come up,
Yeah.
and, according to the school board, we're at 98%. And he said, "I don't know where they're getting 98%. We are at absolute max." And I said, "Well, is there room to build more portables?" No, there's not at all. So he understands that that's a school board issue. That's not up to us. We don't go and build a school or anything like that. But I just wanted to bring it up because it was interesting that out of the blue, the mayor of Daytona came to us questioning about where are you going to put, if we have any more kids, what is going to happen? And of course, I said, well, that's up to the school board, not us, as you full well know. But I wanted you guys to just be aware of that conversation. And I wasn't aware beforehand that we were at such a capacity. And speaking to one of the principal there, Principal Vargas, he told me the same thing. We have no room whatsoever for any new kids. So, Vice Mayor, I know you had something.
We're K-8. We're the only K-8 in the system.
Yeah.
We're not treated as an elementary school or a middle school. We're an object unto ourselves. But our middle school maximum occupancy is 375. We currently, as of 2 weeks ago, have 404 students enrolled.
Wow.
The elementary side is maximum occupancy of 700. And 2 weeks ago, the current enrollment was 750.
Wow.
Our principal is the real deal. He's going to the school board to fight. He's going to say, listen, you need to make us an elementary school or make us a middle school because we're not big enough. And we don't have, the only place they can put, they could take some of our middle school kids to Hinson and make that a big elementary school. So he's going to fight, but I told him that the city, the elected officials, and the school have a special relationship, that we really embrace the school, and that he, as a school board employee, has to hold his tongue sometimes when it comes to certain things that are said to the school board. But I assured him that if he needed some mouths to back him up, that this elected body would support the school.
Yeah, well, that's very pertinent because I didn't have that conversation with him to that extent. So, and that's good to know. And I know that he's also following up, and our police chief, on some safety issues as well, which I will not bring up purposefully here tonight on record. But yes, sir. So yeah, no, I know he's fighting for us, and yeah, I think we all will support that. Whatever they need, we'll get behind them. With that, I have nothing else. We're going to start over here and go this way this time. So, Mr. Johnson, you're first.
About the only thing I have is, we usually have a TPO board meeting the last, or the fourth Wednesday, and they closed it because they completely canceled the meeting because of the potential storm coming. I guess I think it'd be too windy tomorrow morning to have the meeting, so we don't have that, so there's nothing to bring up for that. The only other thing I can think of is just be aware of this storm. A lot of people take it too lightly, but I don't think it's going to be like Charlie. I think it's going to be a storm of the century, really. I do. For some reason, I just think it's going to come in around Port Charlotte, and I saw Charlie do, and then I had to work on that area anyway. Saw mobile homes on power lines and all. But this, it might not be as strong as something, but it's a lot bigger. This storm is actually bigger than the state of Florida, you know. So it's going to be a huge impact, and people better be ready for it.
Yes,
And
sir.
I've seen a lot of them. I've worked a lot of storms. I saw Hurricane Andrew, but Hurricane Andrew was a gigantic storm, but a very small part of the state got affected by it, you know. But this storm is pretty much going to affect the whole state of Florida, I believe. So just be ready.
Yeah. Yes, sir. All right. Is
I
that
hope
all?
you're wrong. That's my only comment. I hope you're wrong.
Yeah, amen.
I've been here 50 years watching them, and I don't think I'm wrong.
Yep. All right, Commissioner Daniel,
Like you said earlier,
prepare for the worst.
yeah, but just, everybody just stay safe, let's Hope that this thing does something miraculous and takes down some trees, some fences, some screens, stimulates our local economy, and kind of wheels way. Zip right out of here. We'll see.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Curry?
I just would like to say that I appreciate the city staff, especially those that are essential employees and will have to stay and pretty much live at City Hall for a couple of days, it sounds like. Most people don't understand what it's like to be away from your family during an event like this. It's difficult because not only are you trying to protect the place where you love and work, but you're worried in the back of your mind about your family at home. So a special thank you to our essential employees that are going to be doing just that. I was in your shoes many years ago, glad I'm not there now. And just please make sure everybody stay tuned to your local weather. Heed the warnings of your Volusia County Emergency Operations Center and prepare yourself. Just be prepared. And just ride it out like we have done many, many times. And I feel very confident in our team here at City Hall. You've done a phenomenal job in the past, and I have no reason to think otherwise this time. And I appreciate all the communications between you, Mr. Forte, and the chief back there also sends us some updates. Appreciate the information. So everybody just stay safe.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Mayor?